Past, Now, Read presents another chilling entry in our anthology of stories that need to be told. Title and Terror. Some contracts bind more than property. Tonight we pull back the veil on reverse mortgages and other financial instruments and the terror one family encountered. Something buried. Something eternally. Title and Terror. They told her it was clean. No liens, no holds, no contest. Erica Miles stared at the final line of the deed transfer document. Transfer of deed of trust, full rights conveyed upon death of previous title holder. She signed. The man in the title office didn't look up. Congrats, Ms. Miles. You now own 237 acres on Hollow Road, and everything that comes with it. Erica didn't smile. She didn't even blink. The pen still rested in her hand, slightly trembling. It wasn't the nerves. It was the hunger. The kind that sits in your bones after months of drowning in debt, calculating every bus ride, every dollar menu item. The kind that makes you shake because you haven't eaten all day, and the idea of owning anything feels like a joke from a richer universe. $82,000 in student loans, 3 credit cards in collections, car gone, rent overdue, phone barely active, held together by prepaid minutes and cracked glass. She was a paralegal, barely. A temp fill-in at an overworked Baton Rouge firm too cheap to offer benefits. The job paid just enough to keep her starving. 2 weeks ago, she was Googling bankruptcy attorneys, drinking instant coffee with powdered creamer and sleeping in her coat. Then came the envelope. Thick, yellowed, postmarked from a rural Louisiana parish she'd never heard of. No return address. Inside, a folded letter, a photocopy of a last will and testament, and a creased topo map. The letter, handwritten and dated 6 months prior. To my granddaughter, Erica Miles. I leave the property at 237 acres Hollow Road. May it serve you better than it served me. She thought it was a scam. Had to be. She almost tossed it. But desperation has a way of making you read things twice. And the signature? It checked out. The will had been filed in the Vernon Parish Courthouse. She called. Clerk confirmed. Recorded. Legitimate. Signed under notary. Her name, Erica Lynn Miles, was listed clearly as heir. Her grandfather's name, Daniel Miles, a man she never met. Never even heard about except once, through a cracked door when her father, drunk and bitter, muttered, "He chose the dirt over us." She looked up the property. An aerial view showed a single crumbling house squatting on 237 acres of forest. No neighbors within a quarter mile. A long gravel drive snaking through trees like a scar. The house was worthless. But the land, untouched pine. Possibly timber-worthy. Possibly subdividable. Possibly her only chance to reset. She called a local title office to check. The woman on the other end ran the address. 237 acres, unencumbered. No liens on the record. You're the only heir, free and clear. They even emailed her a pre-drafted deed transfer form. It felt too easy. But that's the thing about being buried alive in debt. You'll reach for any hand, even if it's bone. A week later, Erica arrived at the Baton Rouge title office, armed with nothing but a borrowed pen and the kind of hope that comes only after everything else has been taken. The signing went fast. Too fast. She was handed a thin folder. She flipped through it. Then something caught her eye. Behind the assistant's desk, half hidden behind a filing cabinet, was a cardboard banker's box. Dusty. Warped from age. Her name was on the side. Erica M. Miles in thick black marker. "Hey," she asked, pointing. "What's that?" The clerk looked. Paused. Probably junk mail. Old title archives. She walked over anyway. Opened it. Inside were legal-sized folders stamped, "Reverse Mortgage. Active." The kind of documents that rattled her spine. She pulled one out. Adjustable reverse mortgage, due upon occupant death or default, immediate repayment upon heir title transfer without lender agreement. Borrower, Daniel Miles. Another sheet was clipped to the back. Default notice. Heir, Erica Miles. Status, active. Amount due, $219. $1,778. Stapled, pre-filled, already signed. By her. Her signature. Perfect match. Date stamped yesterday. She hadn't signed it. She closed the folder, hands shaking. "You said the title was clean," she said. The clerk smiled politely. "We were told it was." Erica didn't sleep that night. She didn't eat. She sat on her floor, knees to chest, the folder open in front of her like a curse she had willingly unwrapped. 2 days later, she packed what little she owned into the back of a rented car and headed north. Past Alexandria, past Natchitoches, off the highway, onto gravel. GPS dropped signal. Her phone screen froze. She followed the map from the envelope. Late afternoon sun knifed through the pine branches. Her tires crunched over old dirt. The sky took on that humid yellow haze that told you it would storm soon. The house didn't appear gradually. It arrived. Squatting. Brooding. Watching her through its crooked windows. The wrought iron gate had been left wide open, as if someone was expecting her. Across the road, a man in overalls leaned against a mailbox, watching, not blinking. She waved. He vanished behind the screen door of a leaning shack. Farther down, an old woman rocked on a porch. Thin white hair, eyes pale and clouded. Erica slowed the car. The woman stood and walked toward her window. No words. Just reached through the open glass and dropped something into her lap. A piece of paper, folded once, pencil handwriting, shaky but deliberate. Don't. Sign. Anything. Erica blinked, looked back up. The woman was gone. The front porch creaked like it remembered weight. The key from the envelope slid into the lock like it had been waiting years for her hand. The door opened too easily. Inside, the house was still. Dust swirled like breath held too long. The air had the copper tang of old blood, masked by mildew and mold. The kitchen table sat under a single bulb that buzzed and flickered. Piles of papers covered its surface. Most were brittle with age, but one envelope was new, unopened, still moist from ink. She picked it up, peeled it open. Inside, a letter. Transfer incomplete. Default clause invoked. Occupant required immediately. Field agent deployed. In the corner, a toll-free number. She dialed it. 2 rings. A voice answered. Flat, genderless, mechanical. Occupant detected. Hold for enforcement. Do not vacate premises. Then silence. Erica looked around. The shadows had shifted. That night, the house changed. The air grew denser, thicker, as if the walls were breathing. She unplugged the lamp in the hallway. It stayed lit. She flipped the light switch. The bulb exploded. Glass rained like frozen rain. In the bathroom, the mirror was fogged. She hadn't showered. The sink hadn't run. Still, the mirror wept. And behind the fog, her reflection didn't move when she did. She turned and bolted for the door. The knob turned, but the door wouldn't open. The hinges groaned once, then locked in place. She ran to the kitchen, checked every window. They were still there, but outside no longer looked like outside. It was dark. A darkness without dimension, like the house floated inside ink. The walls felt closer. The air tasted like old paper and static. She ran upstairs. At the top of the landing, a narrow pull chain hung from the ceiling. Attic access. She grabbed it. Pulled. Dust fell. A ladder creaked downward. Up she went. The attic was dry. Too dry. No insulation. Just boards and shadow. In the corner, a trunk, flat, locked with a rusted clasp. She opened it. Inside, a book, a thick ledger, bound in black leather, the edges gilded in something that looked like tarnished gold. She opened to the first page. Names, dates, signatures, each one written with the same pen, each one crossed out with red ink, some with a single slash. Others, more violent, scribbled through until the page tore. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Each signed under the heading, Property transferred to 237 acres Hollow Road. Near the back, one name stood out, written cleanly, elegantly. Erica Miles, occupant bound, deed attached. She flipped the page. The next name, blank. She slammed the book shut, rushed back down the stairs 2 at a time. Her breath ragged, ribs aching. The house groaned behind her. Floorboards bent, nails shrieked. She ran to the fireplace, grabbed a rusted poker, ripped open the kitchen drawers. There, her folder. Deed. Transfer paperwork. All of it. She shoved it into the sink, poured lighter fluid from under the cabinet, lit a match, dropped it. The papers caught instantly. Fire roared. She stepped back, hands shaking. Smoke filled the room. She coughed. Eyes stung. Turned away for just a moment. When she looked again, the sink was clean. The papers were back on the table, neatly stacked, unburned. A note was stapled to the top, same handwriting as before. Attempted breach detected. Document lock initiated. Transfer reinforced. She backed away slowly. Behind her, the stairs creaked. One step, then another. But she was alone. She stopped sleeping, stopped eating, drank water from the bathroom sink, but even that tasted like metal. On the 3rd day, she woke to find her purse missing. When she found it again, stapled to the back was a new document. Title secured, transfer complete. Next to her name, now stamped in red. Occupant bound in perpetuity. Her ID no longer had her name. Instead, Erica Hollow. The last name overwritten, digitally glitched. She tried logging into her bank account. No record of her existed. The phone rang. She didn't answer. It rang again. Then silence. Midnight. The front door opened by itself. She stood at the top of the stairs, barefoot, wearing the same clothes for days. Eyes hollow, skin drawn. Outside, a figure stood on the porch. Tall, slender, wearing a black suit buttoned to the throat. No face, just a smooth blankness where features should be. In its hands, a folder. It extended it toward her. She didn't move. It stepped inside. Secondary transfer initiated, it said in a low metallic echo. Next of kin located, awaiting compliance. She screamed, threw a lamp. The figure didn't flinch. Then it vanished. She ran to the basement. There hadn't been a basement before, but now there was a door beneath the stairs, cracked open. Inside, stairs descending into cold stone and mildew. The walls were covered in files, each in a frame, each lit by a single flickering bulb. Pictures of people, black and white, sepia, modern, all with red stamps. Occupant voided, transfer failed, default clause enforced. In the center of the room, a desk. A single folder sat atop it. Inside, a photograph of her, eyes wide, hollow, taken today. Stamped. Occupant. Miles Erica. Status, active. Next of kin. J. Miles. She slammed the folder shut. Then she saw the photo beside it. Jessica, her little sister. 24. Just graduated. Just got engaged. Smiling in the photo. Under it. Pending occupancy. Erica ran outside. The woods swarmed her. Trees groaned. The air was thick with static. She pushed through brush. Dirt tore at her feet. The map in her mind unraveled. She ran until her lungs gave out. Then she collapsed. When she woke, she was on the porch again. That evening, a knock came. She didn't answer. The door creaked open. "Erica?" a voice called. "Jessica." Erica sobbed, ran to the entry. Her sister stood there, backpack slung over her shoulder. "I got your email," she said. "You said to come." "I didn't," Erica whispered. "I didn't send anything." But Jessica stepped inside. Behind her, the suited man appeared, folder in hand. Later, a neighbor was interviewed by Channel 6. The anchor asked if she'd seen anything strange. The old woman rocked on her porch. "Told her not to sign," she muttered. "Told her what happened last time, and the time before that." The broadcast cut to the studio. But in the background, a scream flickered on the audio, quickly faded. In the Baton Rouge title office, the same clerk filed a new folder. "Transfer complete. Miles, Jessica." Underneath, "Occupant status. Bound." And below that, "Next of kin. Unknown. Some properties can't be inherited. Some debts dig deeper than pockets. And some mortgages. They don't collect interest. They collect people." You have been listening to Titles and Terror, produced and adapted for audio narration by PastNowRead. Stories that need to be told. Stay tuned for the backstory. Please subscribe and hit that bell for future updates. If you liked Title and Terror, stay tuned for Lean of the Living. When a newlywed couple flips their first home in rural Arkansas, they discover a second set of deeds hidden in the walls. Deeds with signatures that bleed. Their renovation budget vanishes overnight, their credit scores erased, and every contractor goes missing. As drywall peels back to reveal legal names scratched into brick, they realize the house isn't listed under owners, but under tenants. Some mortgages bleed, and the next house they find, it already knows your name. Coming soon, Lean of the Living. Follow for more. Please tag with someone who may like PastNowRead, stories that need to be told. Thank you. All content and images are copyrighted by Phone House, LLC, 2025. All rights reserved. The backstory. The story implies that the house and its cursed reverse mortgage are eternally transferring through Erica's bloodline, moving from one family member to the next like a virus hidden in paperwork. Here's how the transfer mechanism works, based on the clues. Erica's grandfather, Daniel Miles, was the original borrower of the reverse mortgage. Upon his death, instead of the loan ending or the property being foreclosed, the contract invoked a clause requiring occupancy, a hidden trap in the fine print. Erica, as the named heir, became the next occupant. But instead of assuming a normal financial burden, she was spiritually or metaphysically bound to the property. Once she was voided or consumed by the property, the contract triggered again, automatically transferring the debt and title to the next of kin. That's why the file at the end shows Jessica Miles, her sister, listed as pending occupancy. The house, land, and supernatural debt are recursively passed through the family line. The house doesn't just take equity, it feeds on lineage. This is a cursed asset disguised as an inheritance. The hollow trust origin of the land, long before it became 237 acres Hollow Road, the land belonged to no one, because no one would claim it. Originally Choctaw hunting grounds, tribal oral histories called it Nalush Chito Tobi, the shadow that remains. Legend tells of a spirit that did not die, only changed shape, feeding on grief, debt, and memory. In 1893, a land agent named Silas Hollow acquired the property during a bankruptcy estate sale. The original owner, an oil speculator, vanished before finalizing the deed. Silas moved in with his family and vanished 3 months later. All that remained was a black ledger and an unsigned promissory note. The land was marked unclaimable for decades. The Hollow Trust, LLC. In 1954, a strange limited liability corporation was registered in East Baton Rouge. The Hollow Trust, LLC. It had no listed shareholders. Its business: asset reclamation and high-risk equity transfer via life estate conversion. By the 1970s, Hollow Trust was offering reverse mortgage instruments to rural families, especially those with no surviving spouse, no heirs on file, or histories of default. But it wasn't a financial service. It was a harvesting mechanism. Each loan it issued came with a buried clause, subsection 11.3.7b, stating occupancy must be maintained in physical, legal, and metaphysical terms, or collateral may be reclaimed in whole. In plain English, your body, soul, and title become inseparable. The corporation exists in every major credit bureau, but no one knows who runs it. Its headquarters is a P.O. box that forwards into the void. The field agent, aka the voidman. Each time an occupant dies or defaults, a field agent is dispatched. Tall, black suit, no face, carries a red-stamped folder, moves in silence, appears in reflections first. It is not alive. It is the contract embodied. The field agent ensures the title transfer completes by binding the current heir, collecting the soul if the clause is broken, initiating the next of kin protocol if the current occupant is voided. Every time a new heir signs, willingly or by deception, they don't just own the property, they become part of it. The ledger of occupancy stored in the attic of the house, which sometimes vanishes, sometimes expands. The ledger contains the name of every prior occupant. Those crossed out are the ones consumed. The final name is always written by the house. The next blank line is already there, waiting. And beneath the last page lies the original signature, Silas Hollow, dated October 6th, 1893. He never left. He simply became the first occupant in perpetuity. Blood-bound clause. The mortgage binds biological lineage. If no direct heirs exist, the contract spreads like mold through cousins, nieces, half-blood descendants, anyone who shares even a sliver of the signer's name. This is why Erica's sister Jessica is next in line. The contract doesn't expire. It doesn't forgive. It only waits.